I need that? Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do. There's the switch at the bottom.
Is it on? No. Yes, hello. Welcome back and thank you for staying around. This is Mental Health Awareness Week and the theme for this year is Keep Learning. It's just all about challenging ourselves and embracing new opportunities. So thank you for staying or joining us for this panel discussion. Today we're going to be talking about exploring beyond the mad, bad, sad in the way that mental health experiences and issues are portrayed in the media. So we've got lots of lovely, very intelligent and knowledgeable speakers, but I'm not going to introduce them. I'm going to let you guys do that because you probably do it better than me. But we've got Marion Black, who is the CEO from Platform Trust, who's going to be facilitating the panel this afternoon. So I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Kia ora, or happy to wale, as we say in Auckland. I just want to thank you, Changing Minds, for what you've done. I think you're just such an awesomely inspiring group of people, and I just want to acknowledge the work that you guys are doing. I think you're awesome. And so, yeah, I think the big ups for you. This is incredible. So, my name is Mary, I'm the CEO of Platform Trust, which sounds really impressive. There's 2 people in our office, so I can be anything I want to be on any given day. We are a network of national network of community organisations that are providing a whole range of stuff, supports in the mental health and addiction field across New Zealand. There are hundreds of small organisations, big organisations supporting thousands of New Zealanders every day. You just don't hear about it because actually the media, and we'll talk about that, has a much more interesting take on what mental health and addiction is about in New Zealand. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think I was invited to be the fair and equal voice of this. Well, anyone who knows me know I'm not fair and I'm really opinionated. So this is going to be fun. It's quite good having most people are allies, so it won't be as contentious as it could be, but we can make it so. Look, I'm going to get you to introduce yourselves, but as you're doing so, just give your kind of your theme, the bit of this conversation that really presses your buttons, because I know actually they will have questions, which we won't use, just to briefly with that, but just to kind of like, what's the bit about this conversation that you really want to sink your teeth into? So you can start.
I'm James King, and thank you for the opportunity to join the panel today. I've spent 14 years in the media, unfortunately, because I've realised that not everybody is overwhelmed by the idea of the media and how it portrays people in mental health. But one thing we have to understand is the media is fundamentally important to shaping opinions, and that's one of the things that I'd like to talk about today. As I say, 14 years in the media, in newspapers, 7 years as a talkback host and radio journalist.
Tēnā katoa. My name is Tony O'Brien, and I just also want to acknowledge the work that Changing Minds does, in particular Kieran, thanks for the invitation to be here. I'm a little bit nervous, I guess, about kind of being a panellist. It's a new experience for me, but I'm a mental health nurse by background. I work at Auckland University. I teach in the postgraduate program there, and I also work at Auckland Hospital in liaison psychiatry, so I have a clinical role as well. In terms of media, it's been an area of interest of mine. In 2009, I was involved with a research group at the university who we did a study on the media's compliance or their reporting, news media this is, in relation to the Ministry of Health's guidelines for the reporting of suicide. So it was kind of quite a narrowly focused study in relation to mental health. That's something that I can talk about a little bit, and also about what's happened with the results of that since. I guess when we think about media, there's news media, as James is talking about, also entertainment media, which I guess Insatiable Moon is a part of that, and they may have quite different roles in portraying mental illness. But I'm happy to talk about whichever bits of that I can knowledgeably talk about, so thanks very much.
Yep, kia ora whānau. My name is Alexander. I'm a counsellor. I've worked in mental health and addictions and sexual abuse for about 20 years. So, when I think about media, I guess my particular focus looks specifically working with Māori and Pacific clients and the impact that the media has on portraying people with mental illness, with addictions, and the potential stigma that it has on TV. So more than likely that'll be the feedback that I'll give. When you were talking about not being too controversial, I'll try.
Kia ora. I'm Rosemary Riddell, the director of Insatiable Moon, and that's really my claim to fame for being here. It's lovely to see the movie again after a long time of not having seen it. Of course, there were a lot of actors in the film, and there were those who had significant mental health difficulties too. So that presented some very funny challenges for us and for me personally as the director. What I can offer to the discussion, I'm not quite sure, but I'd like to hear from you too, and let's see where it goes. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Mike Riddell, and I have a certain association with the director of the film that I speak quite often, because she's my wife. My background, I'm a writer really, and I've done all sorts of things. I started off with freelance journalism, and then I got into writing non-fiction books, and then I got into writing novels, and then I went to plays, and now I do film. So I'm a screenwriter mostly, and The Insatiable Moon was the film that I wrote script for based on the novel of the same name that I wrote. My main interest really is, I've got two interests. One is, which was raised by the film, what is madness and who defines what madness is. The second kind of interest for me is that these days I work in entertainment media, so I'm a storyteller, and that's what I've been for a long time, actually, a storyteller. But I think news media is actually a form of storytelling as well, although we don't recognise it as such so often. It's often regarded as factual. Yeah. But in fact, the news media is constantly telling stories about what is real and what groups of people are and how they're represented. As a storyteller myself, I find it fascinating, the kind of stories that the media tell, particularly about mental illness.
Okay, well, let's start off down here, because this is my own moment. I've never been beside someone who's actually made a movie. Could I have a selfie? One of the things that was interesting, it was fabulous to see this movie again, and I cried again, you know. But it was just, when you were making it, what was the messages you were trying to get over? Did you have any sort of like big messages you were trying to sort of tell New Zealand at that time?
No, well, in writing circles they say if you want to send a message, send a telegram or something. Storytelling is not about messages. This is a story based on a real guy called Arthur, who I knew in Ponsonby back in the 1980s, and used to come and visit me all the time. I think any story that you tell raises issues, and the issues that fascinate me, because I've got a bit of religious background as well, is religious people often have visions and they hear voices and things, and they're regarded as saints or prophets. But then other people have visions and hear voices and they're regarded as being mad. So it's interesting to me who defines what is mad and what's not. And I think in telling the story, one of the things that I was interested in was, Arthur's supposed to be the mad one, but to my mind he kind of expresses a lot of sanity and humanity in his life, whereas Margaret is supposed to be the kind of paragon of middle class virtue, and she's in a slide towards a position where she can't make sense of the world anymore. So it's in the middle of that they meet. So that's kind of briefly my comment on that. Rosemary.
I wanted to make a movie that would make people laugh and cry all in the same film. I did not want to make a grim, dark film. I think New Zealand has seen far too many of those. And I wanted to show Ponsonby as it is. I wanted to show people as they are. And I wanted to turn people's notion upside down about mental health and what was wellness and what was illness. And something else that was very important to me in the film was I wanted the film to be believable. I wanted the actors to be good actors, and I didn't want anyone to sit in a theatre and cringe because they felt the acting wasn't very good. So I did the casting for the film with that in mind, and I think we really had access to the best of New Zealand actors, and that was terribly important to me. The other thing was we wanted to have fun, and making a movie is such a complicated, slow business, and it took 5 weeks of filming, plus months and months of post-production, but the actual process of filming was really fun to do, and so I wanted it to be an enjoyable experience for the crew and the cast and all of the hordes of people in the background as well.
That's great. When did the movie come out?
2010.
2010. What was the media comment about it at the time, Jane? Do you remember? Was there much media or about that movie?
There wasn't a tremendous amount of media comment. Certainly there wasn't in a talkback sense. And this is one of the problems, I guess, with mental health, is that under the surface it's not really a top of mind issue until something like a murder involving someone who might be schizophrenic is involved. That's when mental health becomes a major issue. Obviously with the recent campaign by Sir John Kirwan, the whole thing about depression has become one of the mainstream strands of mental health portrayed in the media. And but no, to answer your question, the film didn't create so much of a stir in mainstream media.
Well, so you were talking about how Māori are seen and Māori are perceived, and just from my own experience just recently, the only organisation that picked up the fact that more Māori are put into seclusion than anyone else was